Hi, it's time for us to explore Abandoned Dungeon. It's not a huge area, but I felt like there are enough notes and character art for it to be a separate video. Also, as usual, we'll go through all the sculptors' idols and see how they were localized and what interesting bits we can derive from their original names. We'll quickly go over the disclaimers, legend, and sources. If it's not the first time around, feel free to skip ahead. Number 1, use common sense. Please do not assume that I have access to some secret true knowledge. I'm just entertained by reading Sekiro in Japanese. My lore theories are just theories, so treat them accordingly. Number 2, I'm not a professional translator. I have never worked in localization. Yes, I will say that something is translated poorly and something is not, and it will be my personal point of view. Ultimately, my goal is to give you the information so you can see if the localization was good or not, whether something important was lost or not. My opinion is just that, and I choose to share it. Number 3, I'm not an expert on Buddhism or Shintoism. I will leave links to the religious terms that we will encounter so you can read more on your own if you're interested. As usual, the transcriptions I give do not follow all academic rules and I don't think it's necessary. They're just here to represent the pronunciation in case you're curious. All sources I used for this research will be listed in the description box below, along with all the additional information that I referenced throughout the video so you can read more if you're interested. There you will also find a link to my original blog post if you want to read it through. In Japanese, this area is called stero, which translates more to abandoned prison rather than abandoned dungeon. The abandoned dungeon entrance idol is stero iriguchi, abandoned prison entrance. Nothing exciting here. To be completely honest, abandoned dungeon is the only area in Sekiro that I do not care about one bit. The same goes for Dojun and his weird quest. I just do not care. Took me 2 playthroughs to understand that he has the split personality thing. Both Kotaro's and Jinzaimon's questlines are so much more interesting if you don't lure either of them to Dojun that I never do it, and Dojun just kind of hangs in the dungeon forever doing nothing. We'll skip the memorial mob, we have already discussed all of them in a corresponding video. The wooden scaffolding built over the deeper parts of the dungeon is called ashiiba, literally scaffolding. There are also bone clusters with hooks protruding from them that are called kagigakari, hook barbs or hook-like things. I tried to find zombies in the art book but couldn't, and then I realized that they are probably the same as Mibu villagers. Turns out it's true, they have the same character models, just dressed differently. The zombies are called seijutsutai. In English, I believe it's test subjects, but in Japanese, it's just treatment bodies, or bodies for the procedure, which I think is more harrowing, not even considering them people or subjects, but just bodies to experiment on. Then we meet Dojun. He does have his own character art in the art book, and he looks much like bomb-throwing monks from Senpo Temple, except their garment is yellow. Dojun wears white temple garments, pointing at the fact that he was also a monk, like Dogen. You know who wears almost exactly the same clothes? The centipede-infested guys from Senpo Temple, that's who. He stands in front of the room that is called Dojun no Seijutsujo, Dojun's procedure room. Interestingly, body remains on the straw mats are called just like zombies, seijutsutai, bodies for the procedure. The corridor you walk through is underground passage, pretty straightforward. Underground waterway is not very exciting as an idol, underground waterway or canal. Weird cages that you've been seeing in these parts are actually for mizuro, punishment by being placed in a water-filled chamber. Since the dungeon is a former prison, that's probably why these cages are here. As for the Dogen's elevator, it's just called an elevator in Japanese, shoukoki. Bottomless Hole, both the idol and the place, is called minagijo, literally a place for throwing oneself, where the minagi part also means throwing oneself from great heights, or in water to commit suicide, so that's another morbid detail to add to the general image of the abandoned dungeon. In Japanese dialogues, when Wolf tries to solve the riddle with throwing oneself, that's the part he ponders about the most because the word implicates death, and you can't really get on with your mission if that occurs. Well, unless you're a shadow that dies twice, that is. Here we have a chance to speak to Jinzaimon again. He's been following the mysterious melody and it has led him here. It'll be a while till we meet him again. It is only now that I look at this place with intention and I find that it is utterly fascinating. Many times I just skipped jumping from here and entered Ashina depths from the poison pool, but I think that this place deserves way more attention than I have ever given it. There is an old torii gate here. Torii gates usually mark entrances to Shinto shrines and generally symbolize the border between mundane and sacred. The lanterns here are also not just any lanterns. These are, as I figured, nozuradoro, stone lanterns or lanterns made with unpolished stones, one of the most ancient types of stone lanterns from around the Heian period. And look how much incense is placed all over and how many little towers of stacked stones litter the floor. These might be here as a sign of worship or a sign of good fortune, but people used to come here to leave theirs. This place at some point in time was a Shinto shrine, just like the serpent shrine up above near the Eshina castle. The torii gate have some strange texture on them, as if to suggest shell growth. I wonder if this place was flooded at some point in the past. Here again we can talk to an old lady. I have no idea if it is the rice lady or not. I think it makes little sense for her to be here since she would have pointed to the elevator rather than the depths. This one just prompts you to jump. I do not think that the lady holds any significance other than just being a guiding character for this particular situation. What you might not know, I certainly didn't, is that after you visit the abandoned dungeon, the rice lady before the Eshina Castle idol has a different dialogue. She straight up tells you about the divine child and how to reach her, go to the abandoned dungeon, swim the cold waters, and ride the elevator. I never spoke to her more than once on that bridge, and it's the first time I've heard this dialogue.
さん、うちの巫女様にお会いしたいのじゃったな。あっちじゃ。先方寺はあっちじゃ。ステロを抜け冷たい水を一泳ぎ。さすればそこは金剛山の先方寺。
That is all the art book has on the abandoned dungeon as far as the environmental artwork goes. It's just a couple of pages. Let's now discuss all the bloody notes and letters we find here or those that Dojun gives us, and also investigate the Shichimen Warrior that lives here. Surgeon's bloody letter is given to Wolf by Dojun upon their acquaintance and starts the wave of correspondence between him and his master Dousaku, which is also him. The original name of this letter is Surgeon's Letter Stained with Blood. The contents of the letter were localized correctly. The original uses the word Master Samurai to describe the warrior needed. For the second part of this quest, Dojun will give you another letter, Surgeon's Letter Covered in Blood. Even though the English name doesn't make the change all that dramatic, the description does. Great job. A tattered, blood-covered letter. If you look closer at the pictures, you'll see that the second letter is basically half read and more tattered because Dojun's mind has been getting worse. This letter sends you to get the immortal red carp eyes. The contents of the letter are localized correctly. That carp is actually called a sakura carp, huh? I always thought it was some kind of mistranslation because the fish looks crazy, but in Japanese it's actually sakuragoi, sakura carp. Dousaku's note is Dousaku no tegami, Dousaku's letter, even though judging by the picture it's a whole book. Hypocritical quack really piqued my interest because I'm always eager to learn the Japanese original phrasing behind the localized English insults. Interestingly, the hypocritical part is correct. Gizen means hypocrisy, but the quack part is not really accurate. In the original, Dousaku calls Dogen hikyomono, coward, hypocritical coward. There is actually a lot to think about. Dousaku and Dogen, both monks of the Senpo Temple, apparently pursued eternal life. However, at some point, probably because Dousaku's methods had grown too extreme, Dogen left him, transitioning more towards his tinkering and mechanical inventions, and their disciples unanimously followed Dogen because they did not want to dirty their own hands, meaning conducting experiments on people. Apparently, Dousaku thought that Dogen still wanted to pursue immortality, but did not want to really commit to it with all the horrid experiments, hence hypocritical coward. I think it all makes sense because Dogen's elevator connecting the dungeons with the Mount Kongo is right there, so they probably did work together for at least some time. Dousaku's letter is honestly one of the more interesting pieces of lore in this whole questline. Followed closely by the Rotting Prisoner's Note. Its original name is Rotting Prisoner's Letter. This is an exceptionally curious item because it talks about Okami and Fountainhead Palace. There is a whole bunch of interesting stuff in the original. The thing driving me insane the most was that Okami tome. I was like, where is it? I want to read that too. In reality, there is no tome. The prisoner is referring to the legends of Okami clan. There is no item behind it, just the folklore. Throw oneself in the original has a second part. Throw yourself and you will reach the village where the stone is enshrined. Another curious thing is that the original says the women of this clan reach the Fountainhead Palace. Yet another mention of Okami ladies discovering the way. The rest of the letter was localized accurately. In the last sentence, the name Kotaro is mentioned twice. Kotaro, Kotaro, forgive me. There is only one Kotaro that we know of, the Terror Troop warrior and the caretaker of the Children of Rejuvenation that we find on Mount Kongo. It may be his father, or maybe not. Kotaro is not exactly a rare name. What I wonder about the most is that why that man wanted to get to the palace. It seems that he pursued this goal for his son, to whom he apologizes at the end of the letter, much like Armored Warrior pursued immortality not for himself, but for his ailing son Robert. If it is the Kotaro that we know, what did his father mean to gain for him at the palace? If you don't find this note, and therefore do not know the recipe for reaching the Fountainhead Palace, Kuro will eventually give you Okami Note, an item that I never got until my third playthrough because I always collected this note first. Funny how such things happen. Shichimen Warriors are probably the most annoying mini-bosses for me. I always struggle with them. They never jump for me to execute anti-aerial death blow, and it generally takes me a lot of time to deal with them. Another thing that I never liked about them is the harrowing lack of context. Who are they? Why are they here? I wouldn't say that my research yielded some exceptional results, but still, some things I managed to dig up. I don't think in the heat of battle it's possible to get a good look at Shichimen Warrior, so let's do it now. Even though they have no associated items and nobody talks about them, there are still some details that we can derive from their appearance. First of all, the name, Shichimen Musha, Shichimen Warrior. Many people think that it is a 7-masked warrior because Shichimen is literally 7 masks, or 7 faces. However, at close inspection, you can see that a Shichimen Warrior has a whole bunch of masks, dozens of them, way more than 7. Shichimen expression can also be kind of metaphorical. For example, in Japanese, Shichimen Chō, 7-masked bird, is actually a turkey, and it was named so because the skin on a turkey's neck can change colors. Shichimen is also a mountain in Japan, a site of religious pilgrimage, so I dug for a while in that direction and learned a lot of interesting things, none of which I felt like had anything to do with Shichimen Warrior. Maybe he's named so because of the shades of purple he turns during the fight, maybe because it sounds better than 28-masked warrior. Shichimen Warrior actually has 2 bodies that are fused together at the waist. He has 2 spines and 2 necks, which is curious. His lower body bears the remnants of Japanese armor, and his left side is more skeletal than the other one. His weapon is probably the most distinctive feature of his appearance. It is very unique. No one in Sekiro bears a weapon remotely like this one. It looks like a slightly modified flaming sword of Manjushri. The handle was lengthened, so it's more like a staff with a short sword at the tip. Manjushri is one of the bodhisattvas in Buddhism and is considered a Buddha of wisdom. The sword is supposed to represent the sharpness of wisdom cutting down ignorance. I have no clue how it fits with Shichimen Warriors, but the weapon is way too unique and really looks to me like the sword of Manjushri, so make of it what you will. Shichimen Warrior is also an apparition-type enemy, just like the Headless. If we look closely on the types of masks they wear, we'll see that these are not really masks, but a bunch of samurai helmets with Menpo face guards fused together. Some of those helmets really stand out, for example, one with a golden centipede. Golden centipede was a popular helmet embellishment among Sengoku warlords because centipedes always go forward and never retreat. Date Shigezane, a cousin of Date Masamune, was said to wear centipede helmets. I think I also spotted a Domaru helmet from Muromachi period, as well as another helmet with a big disc that might have been used to depict the clan sigil. All the fused together Menpo face guards, without the top helmet part, appeared to be from early Muromachi period to Sengoku. Akazanai troops that invade the Ashina castle in late game wear similar ones, only more modern versions with mustaches. All of the above leads me to believe that Shichimen warriors are a collective sum of vengeful spirits of warriors who fell in battle. Or maybe Shichimen warriors are warlocks consuming warriors who fell in battle. They are apparitions summoning wailing souls, so there is that. The weapon I cannot really explain, but maybe there isn't an explanation and it was chosen just because it looks so cool. You know, Sakura Dragon also isn't supposed to wield a 7-branched sword. In reality, this sword isn't really for fighting even, and yet he does. I hope you enjoyed our little exploration of the abandoned dungeon. Next up, much bigger one, Mount Kongo and Senpo Temple. I imagine it to be quite a deep dive. The art book has a lot of pages dedicated to the temple, and we also have some undiscussed items that would go nicely with that part of the research. A little reminder about our new Discord server. The link is in the description. Don't forget to check the description for relevant links, and more reading. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.